Okay, so in the last class we ended the first unit, right? That CNC adaptive control is what we saw, right? We are starting with the second unit. Uh, so firstly, we'll see the types of automation, right? We have already discussed rigid automation. Remember in unit 1, we discussed rigid automation that appeared in unit 1. So as I told you there, that you have basically three types of automation, one of them being rigid automation, what we saw. The other two are programmable automation and flexible automation. Okay, we'll see what those are, but these are the general types. Okay, the three types that we can classify automation into. Okay, so we saw rigid automation, right? So we'll just summarize. Okay, we saw that there is a fixed sequence of processing or assembly operations, right? So if we want to have uh, if the product design is not changing over time, okay, so we'll have the processing steps similar, right? Every time we're going to produce the product, the processing steps or assembly if required, right, will be same. So that fixed sequence of steps is what we are automating with the help of what, a special purpose equipment, right? So that is solely dedicated to that itself, right? That is why we are calling it a special purpose equipment. We have designed it so that it suits that product design what we want to manufacture. Okay, we saw that although each operation could be very simple, but the combination of all those operations is what makes the system complex, right? We saw that it could be a simple movement of a spindle, okay, a rotation of spindle, or the movement of tool, right? That could be one thing. So you see, I'm trying to show you with an example here. You see what this machine does is, you can see a rigid automated packing machine. Okay, that's a packing machine solely dedicated for packing, basically a food product. Okay, food packaging. So you see here we have, for example, the first step is taking off that wrapper, isn't it, from that decoiler. Okay, it will take that wrap, right, and here in the hopper it will fill it. Okay, you see all these are different distinct operations, right? All those are very simple, but the combination, and this is a very simple example to give you. Okay, a complex example could be, we saw in the video of the automation, the introduction to automation, that uh, there was a filling machine, right, that was filling a liquid into a bottle, right? And then after the filling is completed, you have the placing of the cap, and then the tightening of the cap. You see, so that is on a machine, what do you call, a production line. Basically this is a dedicated automated machine. Okay, you could even have this type of automation in a line. Okay, as I said, that filling of the bottle. Okay, that what do you call, let's call it a beverage. Okay, you have Coca-Cola, Sprite, etc., right? So if you want to fill the bottles with that liquid, right, all that process, right? So even that can be taken as an example for rigid automation, right? Because the product will not change, the filling of the bottle, the tightening of the cap, placing of the cap, right? So all of those are standard operations, and need not, they will not change over time. There will be minor changes which can be accommodated in the machine. So that typical features, you see high initial investment we discussed, because that's a custom engineered equipment as per the product design. We have made the equipment. Okay, high production rate, no doubt, because there is no loss of production time, right? There will not be any delays, because it's a continuous process. You will not interrupt the machine, because there's no need to, right? If at all there is a change in the product, if there is a change in the batch, okay, we'll see another type of automation, wherein you have batches of product, like 20 products you want to manufacture of certain design, and then the next 30 of some other design. You see, in here you are having it completely dedicated to that single product, right? The whole line is for that product that we have designed the system for. So obviously you will have a high production rate. inflexibility to accommodate product variety. As I told you, if there are product design changes, that they will not be, it will be very difficult to uh, accommodate those changes. Okay. Examples include machining transfer lines, as I said. It could be either in the food industry or, as for example here, machining manufacturing industry, automated assembly or packing machines. You see the example here of a packing machine. It could be an example of an assembly machine also, right? Clear, right? We have seen this example, should not be doubts. We saw this example of rigid automation earlier, right? And then programmable automation. You see how is it distinct from fixed automation? Or you see the different names for rigid automation are fixed automation also, or hard automation also. Okay, these are all the names for the same uh, concept of rigid automation. Clear, right? Rigid automation, hard automation, or what was it? Rigid, hard, and fixed automation. Yes. So another one is programmable automation. As the name indicates, it is programmable. So when do we need this? When we have a change in the product that we are going to manufacture. Okay, because there was no change of the product there. The product was same. The design of the product was same, right? So there was no need to program it, right? Because that fixed automated machine was solely dedicated for that, right? But here, because you are saying that there is a change in the product, okay, and the product design, you see, production equipment is designed with the capability to change the sequence of operations to accommodate different product configuration. So different product configurations can be made. If there are change in the product features, all you have to do is, you see here, controlled by a program, you have to change the program, because the operation sequence that this machine is working on is controlled by a program. And what is that? It's a set of instructions coded so that they can be read and interpreted by the system. So the system will take the program. So all you have to do is change the program so that we can have a different product being manufactured, right? That's why we call it programmable automation. So new programs can be prepared and entered into the equipment to produce new products. That's one advantage that you have, right? So physical setup of the machine must be changed for each new product. So that changeover procedure will take time. You see, because you're saying there will be some uh, delay. Why? Because you want to change the program, you want to change the physical setup of the machine, right? Some tools may have to be changed. Okay, so all of that will take time. So you have that delay. Okay, procedure, that changeover procedure will take time. Okay, examples include your NC machines, right? You see, uh, we saw that in a CNC machine or an NC machine, we can have different product manufactured, because we are also giving programs, CNC programs, right? Part programs. So we can change that program. So you see why we can consider NC or CNC machines in the category of programmable automation, because we're able to change the program, right? The CNC will require a program to be input, and every time if we give it a new program, it will take the program and it will execute that, a different product, right? Industrial robots, programmable again. PLC is programmable again, right? We discussed PLC in the last unit, right? That we are able to program them using ladder logic diagrams. So that is why we can call it, it comes under the category of programmable automation. Is that clear? Programmable automation. Because this types of automation is important when coming to your exam point of view. Okay, is that clear, or do we have doubts? I mean, anyone has doubts? Okay, so you see the features of programmable automation. High investment in general purpose equipment. Why is it a general purpose equipment? Can anyone tell me why is it that we are calling it a general purpose equipment? Although yes, high investment. Okay, agreed. It's a general purpose equipment. You can unmute or put it in the chat box. Okay, needless to say. So just a minute, okay? Okay, so you see general purpose equipment, because that CNC, what you're saying, why can we call it a general purpose equipment? Because it is able to turn different products, right? A variety of products can be made, different batches, right? We're calling it batch production because of the reason that it is able to change the batches, right? We are able to manufacture in batches, 20 products of one batch, 100 products of another batch, each batch having its own product. So that product has its own design features are different. Okay, so requires a high investment because it's a general purpose equipment able to manufacture different kind of designs, right? Lower production rates than fixed automation. Why is it a lower production rate? We had a high production rate in fixed automation, right? In here it is lower. What is the principal reason? You see, because there is change over time, isn't it? We saw here that there is a change over time required between different batches, right? So that's why you have lower production rate. There has to be the fixture, I'm sorry, the tool has to change, the tool setup, okay, program feeding time, etc., right? So all of that will there's a relatively lower production rate. Okay, it's not lower as in very low, but there's a comparison here relative to fixed automation. Flexibility to deal with variations and change in product configuration. That's the main reason, right? We are able to call it programmable because the flexibility which was not there in fixed automation is there in here in programmable automation, to be able to deal with different variety, okay, as opposed as regards to product design. Okay, most suitable for batch production, right? I told you, right, what is batch production. So another thing to clarify about batch production, that generally batch production is done by companies which are catering to other product companies. Okay, for example, there is an automotive manufacturing company. Okay, they require different assemblies, isn't it? Engine assembly, powertrain assembly, right? Different assemblies. So for example, for the engine you have different components. So they may uh, it may so be required that they will give it out to some other third party company, okay, that regarding with regards to this assembly, this so and so product, okay, 3 or 4 products we want to buy from other manufacturers and they are specializing in that. Okay, that is one thing. Another thing would be There's a company which manufactures different components, like uh, it manufactures, for example, connecting rods for for Toyota, okay, company, for Tata, etc. Right? So each one will have its own product design, right? The design will change with company. So that company which is going to produce those connecting rods for different companies like Tata, Toyota, Hyundai, etc., will have to uh, undergo batch production only, because as regards to the demand, okay, as and when the demand is there, like when the order comes from Toyota of 100 components, another component, another what do you call, uh, another product, okay, from another company of, let's say, 50, that we want 50 components. So all these comes under batch production, okay, because we have different batches, we have production going on in batches, okay. So when we are changing the batch, there will be some time required, because their product design has changed, right? So there will be some time required, tools and fixtures, right, material handling, etc., all these will require a change. So that will take time, okay. So that's a characteristic of batch production. Clear, right? What I meant to say, why this programmable automation is suited for batch production. Okay, you see here an example of programmable automated welding, okay. All these robots have been programmed. So if, for example, there is another what do you call, another vehicle coming in after a batch of 10, okay, model A, 10 cars were to be manufactured. Model B, another model, 20 were to be manufactured. So that will change. So this programming of the robot has to change. Okay, because this robot, we are able to program it. We can have a different program, because the location of welding will be different for different cars, right? Because the product design is different. So that's what is meant. Okay, I just wanted to put this diagram so that you can understand it more easily. Okay, so doubts regarding programmable automation? No. Okay. The next type of automation is flexible automation. We're calling it an extension of programmable automation. Okay, that's an extension because we are even programming it here. But what is the difference? Capable of producing a variety of parts or products with virtually no time lost for changeovers from one part style to the next. There's no that we discussed that there is a changeover time required, right? In programmable automation. So that is not here in flexible. Okay, that is how we are able to have more, that we were able to save time. Okay, we'll see how. Also, this is called soft automation. Hard automation was what we were calling it for your rigid automation, the first type of automation. This is the exact opposite of that, soft automation, because we are able to uh, have different product varieties, right? As opposed to that fixed automation, only one product design. In here we are able to accommodate product variety, right? That is why we are calling it soft automation. Flexible automation typically consists of a series of workstations that are interconnected by material handling and storage equipment to process different product configurations at the same time on the same manufacturing system. So same manufacturing system, but we are able to process different product configurations, right? That was a characteristic. And another feature is they are interconnected by material handling and storage equipment, because for you to have uh, what do you call, for the product to be brought to different workstations, you require a material handling and storage equipment, right? So conveyors, right? Industrial robots, there are even automated guided vehicles. We have this in the next unit. So all those are material handling equipments. So that will be required in here because different workstations are connected, right? A product may have to be sent to different workstations to achieve different processes, right? So you have to have a material handling and storage system as especially in flexible automation. Okay. Features. You see high initial investment for custom engineered equipment. Just as you had a custom engineered one in hard automation, rigid automation, you have a even higher investment. Okay. And continuous production of variable mixture of products. Yes, we saw because we are able to accommodate different products. So variable mixture of products can be done. Okay. Medium production rates. So we'll see a diagram that will clarify. Here you see this is a graph between product variety and quantity. Okay. And we'll see what how these automation types will lie, where these automation types will lie on this chart. We saw fixed automation, first type of automation. Quantity is high because we said that the rate of production is high production rate. But as when it comes to variety, the variety that it can handle is very less, isn't it? And the quantity is more because we said that the product design is not changing. That's why. So quantity that can be produced is very high. So the next one is what we discussed was programmable. Okay, let's go this way. Fixed was what first we discussed. Next one, programmable. As a programmable, quantity produced is less and the variety is high, right? Because we said that different batches can be made, right? And we can program it, giving different programs, feeding the different programs for each individual product. So the variety is high and the quantity is low. Flexible automation lies in between these two. Okay. Medium quantity, medium variety. Okay. So that's where this lies. So when how will you decide which type of automation to go for? Based on your product variety and the quantity that you want to produce, right? There's no one hard fast rule that this type of automation is the best, right? Depends on the case. That if you want to have a product that will not change over time, the product design is not going to change, the demand is stable, okay, then you can go for fixed automation. On the other hand, if you want to have different batches of products, then you can go for programmable automation. If it is somewhere in between, that there is medium quantity and medium variety, there is a variety but not as much as a programmable, not as low as fixed, in between, same goes for quantity. So that's where programmable automation, flexible automation lies. So wanted this to for you to know, so that medium production rates. Okay, that's where we went there. So medium production rates, not too high, not too low. Medium production rates, flexible automation is very much suitable. Flexibility to deal with product design variation. We saw this, right? That's why we are calling it flexible. Examples include your FMS. FMS stands for flexible manufacturing system. Okay, for performing machining operations. We'll see the example. Uh, let's see the example and then come back. You see, this is how a flexible manufacturing system will look like. So you have a computer that is controlling machines. Okay, machine 1, machine 2, machine 3. The computer is controlling them. Okay, they have their own tools. Okay, now you have this what do you call transfer system, pallet transfer system. This is basically what we were calling material handling system. Okay, because it is taking the material to different workstations, right? So all these X, what you're seeing is pallet with workpiece attached. So there's a pallet is what that is a that is able to carry the workpiece, okay, that we are going to manufacture. So that is what is called a pallet. Okay, material handling device. Okay, so the workpiece, okay, is there in this transfer system. In here you have the loading and unloading. So what happens in flexible manufacturing system is you have each product is given a code, okay, that the computer is able to read, and the computer knows where exactly that product is, the location of the product, and what is to be done to the product. Okay, all the different sequence of operations to be performed. So the computer will send instructions to different machines. For example, a product requires machine 1 and machine 3. Okay, the operations that are to be done are on machine 1 and machine 3. So this, our workpiece will go here, okay, like this. Okay, machine 1, it goes in here, otherwise it would go just straight. Okay, because the instructions are there to the machine that this product, the code of this coded product is to be machined in machine 1. So as for the code and instructions, it will take that, it will load it onto the machine, it will perform the operations based out of the programs that have been sent by the computer, and once that is done, it will release it to the transfer system, and then it goes on to the next workstation. So we said 1 and 3, so it skips 2 and it goes to 3, because the machine 3 knows that I have to do the next one after machine 1. So it takes in that product, performs the processing operations as per the program, right? So and then it will unload that. So you see why we are calling it flexible manufacturing system, because we are able to process different work pieces. You see, each workpiece is having different requirements, different machines, it requires different machines. So we are able to do that in this system, flexible manufacturing system. Basically what we form is cells, flexible manufacturing cell, FMC. Okay, so each cell will have a dedicated machine setup. So the transfer system will take the workpieces to the different machines, and the machine will be loaded, I'm sorry, the workpiece will be loaded to the machines as per the instructions. If it is required to be processed there, it will go there, otherwise it will skip that. So all that is controlled by that computer. Clear what we mean by flexible manufacturing system? Okay, and you see essential features that distinguish flexible automation from programmable automation. Okay, how is it different from programmable automation? The capacity to change part programs with no lost production time, isn't it? Because in your programmable automation, you have to change the program, right? It will the workpiece or the product will come, and you have to change the program. If it is a different product, you have to change the program. In FMS you don't have to, right? Because all the programs are fed into that machine, so it will change the program automatically based on the requirement of the workpiece. Clear, right? What we mean by uh, that we don't have to change the part program. So we will change that, right, with no loss of no loss of production time, as opposed to your programmable automation. Capability to change over the physical setup, again with no loss of production time. So physical setup that we saw here, okay, so even that benefit is there. So these features allow the automated production system to continue production without the downtime between batches that is characteristic of programmable automation. So we don't have that batch kind of production system here. So clear, right? Flexible automation. Shall we move on to the next topic? Yes, okay. So We saw this graph as well, right? So it's very important to know what uh, segment does each automation lies, okay, or is able to cater. So the next thing is, after your types of automation, and is your automation principles and strategies. So as regards to principle, you have the USA principle. Okay, we'll see what that is. Another thing is your 10 strategies for automation and process improvement. Okay, those two are related. The first USA principle and the 10 strategies. And then you have the automation migration strategy. So coming to USA principle, what it stands for is not United States of America, but U as in, as for U stands for understand. Okay, understand the existing process. S stands for simplify the process. A stands for automate the process. Okay, so why do we need this principle? That is the first question. So this principle aims to what do you call, help us in automating the process, basically. So how do we do that? The first step is you understand the existing process. There is a process that you want to automate. Okay, that is a problem that we have, that we want to automate a particular process. So what do you do? First thing you do is you understand the existing process, what that process is actually, in and out of. You understand the you understand the process in and out. Okay, what are the input output analysis? What are the different inputs to the process? What are the different outputs that we are getting from the process? Okay, you understand that so and so has to be given. Okay, what are all the different things that are required? So inputs and outputs, right? Input output analysis. What we mean to say by that is you understand the process, different inputs and outputs to the process. Okay, first thing, value chain analysis. We also want to know uh, whether a particular, for example, you were doing it traditionally. Okay, 10 steps were required. So for each step, you see whether we require that or not. Is it valuable? Do we need that? You ask yourself. If it is required, can we omit that? Okay, can we delete that step? Can we combine steps? Okay, for example, instead of having 4 steps, you can combine the first and second steps if possible. Can we do that? You check that. So value chain analysis. So what is the value of the different steps? You see that. And charting techniques and mathematical modeling. So even you can see the different mathematical models to understand the process, that after this you have this process and after this you have this. So not just processes, the complete thing. For example, right from what do you call, taking of the input and then assembly, inspection, etc. Okay, so that model will have all of that information. You can see how are all these sequentially related. Okay, what is a sequence? So that will help you understand the process. Okay, all these will help you understand the existing process. Clear what we mean when we are saying we have to understand the process first? Okay, and then the next one is simplify the process. Once you have understood what is the process in and out, now you simplify the process. So you, what we are doing is reducing the unnecessary steps and moves, right? We're trying to simplify it. That maybe it may be in terms of the route. Okay, that we need not have to take it to so and so route. Okay, we can have it a different route so that we can save time, production time. Or deleting the step altogether. For example, there was a step that we were performing, like for example, uh, drilling and boring. Okay, we were having it in different, on different machines. So can we make it on one machine? Do we have a machine that can do that? If yes, then we will move that workpiece to that machine directly, not to two different machines. Okay, individual, two different individual drilling and boring machines. We'll move it to a machine that can handle both at the same time, so that we can have, because even you see the setup time will be decreased, right? Because if it goes to drilling machine, there will be a setup time required. You have to set up the workpiece, right? Before starting the process, there is a setup time involved also. so that everything is correct and we can start machining. That's what happens in the setup. Okay, so for example, fixing of the workpiece on the chuck when it comes to CNC machines, fixing of that equipment, I'm sorry, fixing of the workpiece, or taking the tool, okay, that tool setup also. So we are reducing the unnecessary steps, okay, and moves. For example, in assembly, for example, that you were doing, the robo was performing two translations, okay, and then one rotation. We have seen, right, how robots perform, especially inspection, they're very fast, right? I believe we saw in the video about that automated assembly, right? So if the robo was doing some extra steps, can we reduce some steps, right? Combine steps or etc. Okay, simplifying the process, and then you automate the process. Okay, the last step is then you automate it. Firstly you understand it and simplify it, and then you automate it. Okay, and for automating the process we have 10 strategies, okay, that we'll see. That's the next topic. What are the 10 strategies that we have for automation and production systems? So to be able to automate better, what 10 strategies can you adopt to see that it is done efficiently